Hi, welcome. I'm so happy to have everyone here. My name is Wendy from Seattle, and I would like to welcome 5 global event hosts on Stitch.net, which is the website set up to wipe out loneliness for people over 50. Stitch is in 88 countries all over the world, with large numbers of members in Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States. As a Stitch member for 7 years, I started hosting events on Zoom in December 2020. I would like to welcome the event hosts with me who offer great value to members of Stitch. As I say your name, please wave. Nancy from Ohio. Sylvia from Nebraska. Gordon from Chicago. Sherry from Texas. Kim A from California. Okay, I will ask the first question and we'll start with Nancy. So happy to have all of you here. I am so impressed with all of you and all the great value that you provide here on Stitch, and so happy to include all of you. So the first question is, what kind of events do you host and how long have you been hosting events, Nancy?
My name is Nancy from Ohio, and I just started an event. Friday will be our 4th time, and it's called Bedtime Chat with Nancy. And it's a pajama party, and it takes place at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, and everybody comes in their pajamas and brings a stuffed animal and a blanket. And the chat is very light. For me, I've attended 2 late night chats, and I went right to bed after them. So that's what gave me the idea. And I've been hosting for about 6 months on and off. All right, Sylvia, what kinds of events do you host, and how long have you been doing it?
I host only one event. I host a dice game called Quicks. And I learned about this dice game from a friend of mine here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and she had set up an online version of it so we could play online. And I thought that would be perfect for Stitch. We use a game card that looks like this, but I have those up on the board. So as we play, we can see our own game card and the others who are playing too. I've been playing Stitch online for about 1.5 years on playing Quicks online for about 1.5 years on Stitch. And I do a training beforehand so people have a good idea of how to play. And I would say overall, I have trained maybe 75 to 80 people on how to play. We have a hardcore of maybe 20 who play regularly now. Okay, and I'm going to ask Gordon the same questions. Hi, Gordon. What kind of events do you host? Hi. And how long have you been hosting your events?
Well, I actually started as one of these Stitch ambassadors way, long ago, doing in-person events in Chicago. Currently, and I took a little break, but I've been hosting a writer support group, which is basically people who are interested in writing, whether they're professionals, whether they want to be published, and just figuring out, okay, how do we, mostly it's just kind of talking and figuring out how we can support each other. But I also during the pandemic, I hosted old time radio listening parties. And I've also done like a variety of just really kind of casual get together to talks. So yeah, I tend to be, most of mine are virtual simply because it's in Chicago, it's so big, it's hard for people to get somewhere. But with virtual, you can have anyone come, and that's really cool. And so that's kind of my story. And now, Sherry, what kind of events do you host, and how long have you been hosting events?
Well, I joined Stitch around 3 years or so ago, maybe a little longer than 3 years. And I met Andrew right at the beginning when he came to Houston. And he asked me about doing some things related to language and culture, to be involving a bigger part of the world. And I liked the idea. And so it took me a couple of months to kind of decide what I wanted to do. But I've hosted a lot of events, both virtual and some face-to-face events. But the virtual ones have included Spanish classes for beginners and intermediates. I have several groups on Stitch, and from there I look at what people are interested in. I have the TGIF, which I have both a public version and a private version as well. This Most of the events that I do, like the Spanish classes and things, I create private groups so that it's got the continuity of the same people over and over again. And then I co-host with my partner, who I became stitched with about 2 years ago now, Mike from Tulsa. And so we host weekly Farkle games and categories twice a month. And so we just do lots of different things. And face to face, we do things in private groups also with potlucks and things like that. I enjoy all kinds of events, and so I do lots of things. I've done art classes where I explained about Picasso and had people make a Picasso replica and things like that. So it's that was inspired by Wendy's art sessions, and the games were inspired by Sylvia's Quicks games, as well as Farkle game with Anne from the Houston area. So it's a lot of it comes from other Stitchers showing what they're interested in and just kind of taking it from there. So I do a little bit of everything. So Kim, what kinds of events do you host, and how long have you been hosting events?
Well, I've been a member of Stitch now for 7.5 years, so I've just watched it grow and just change into this just amazing program. And I started out like Gordon did, where I was doing in-person events, because in the San Jose Bay Area, there is so much going on all the time. So it was like just this really great way of being able to go places and finding somebody that'll go with you all the time. So I started with in person. And then, of course, when the pandemic hit, kind of closed everything down. And I started going to Zoom events with different people. And that really inspired me to get out there and start doing the Zoom events too. I have 3 groups at this point, actually 4. One is still for online. I do a Hago group online, and Hago, for those that don't know what it is, it's a tour-based program where you can be with a tour guide in any corner of the world and listen to what's going on there at the moment. They can talk to the people and you converse back and forth with them, not personally, but you can through like a message center, which is pretty cool. Anyway, great program. You get to know these really amazing Stitch folks from all over the world. So I want that connection still, but my passion now has become in-person events again. And I host about 4 events, one a weekend every month. So we get together and we do hiking. In fact, yesterday we just hiked the whole perimeter of the Golden Gate Park. And what's cool is you get the same people, but you get new additions coming in. I'd say on any given day, we have between 7 to 12 people hiking together. And then we always go out to eat afterwards. And I love to try different types of food from different cuisines. So yesterday's was Persian, which was amazing, but we just have fun together and we like to just get together. Another group that I have that I get a little different people coming to it is I do host a plein air art group. And we've been to different lakes, and there's just so much beauty in the Bay Area that there's never a lack for someplace new to go to do art. And not doing that right now because it's so cold. And when I say so cold, we're talking 50s here, okay? But we're spoiled here, so we're waiting to do that again and pick back up in May. And then I also have a private group. The private group is for those people we've gotten to know so closely in the hiking group that we enjoy getting together and just like spring upon a movie or something, or go to get coffee together because we know these people and just so totally enjoy them. So it's just been such a gift for me to be a member of Stitch and do this and get to know people that I just hope the enthusiasm comes off because I love this group. I love Stitch. I love everything it has to offer. Anyway, on we go to Wendy. What kind of events do you host and how long have you been hosting events?
Well, I've been a member of Stitch since for about 7 years, but I haven't been active in going to any events or any virtual events until December, well, actually November 2020. And then in December 2020, I started hosting events. And so far I've hosted 511 events and have attended 627 so far. Only one of those events that I hosted was an in-person event. And so I have to get better on that area. I really like virtual events, to be honest. I host events on topics that I'm interested in that might spark interest in Stitch members. I adapted 2 games to Zoom, Mahjong and Canasta. I host events on travel, cooking, writing, Stoic philosophy, nutrition, longevity, art history, and more. And I have a book club planned. I really love Stitch. I really love hosting events. And I love being part of all of this. And I'm so happy with all the wonderful people, intelligent, creative people that I've met here. So now we're going to go to the second question. And Nancy, why do you enjoy hosting events?
I get a thrill out of it, and I enjoy just conversing with people. It makes my whole week to prepare for bedtime chat with Nancy. And I always come in a different pajama outfit, and people really enjoy that. And I've made a lot of good friends through that forum. So that's about it for me. Oh, Sylvia, what do you enjoy about hosting events?
I think, Nancy, I think I enjoy the interaction with the different Stitch members more than anything. Of course, I like to host activities that I enjoy doing myself. I'm thinking about doing one on comparative cultures around the world for Stitch. I think we'd have several people who'd be interested in that, but I really enjoy playing games. And so that's why Quicks is something that I really enjoy. And I really enjoy the different games that Sherry and Wendy host as well. That's a lot of fun. Gordon, how about you? Why do you enjoy hosting events on Stitch?
I love the I love the people on Stitch. A lot of the groups that I've run, I've met some really they're upbeat, they're positive, they're and the other thing too is they don't there isn't the expectation, I don't need to do a lot of complicated things. in my non-Stitch life, I've had to go to like speed networking things where it's like, oh, we've got to set up the discussion room on Zoom. We got to sort people out. And it's like, no, it's just you open up Zoom, you set up a room, people come. And I just love how it's simple, but it's also very positive. And I really like that there's that Stitch has that vibe that a lot of that I'm not quite sure I can find in other online groups, which is why I love it so much. And so Sherry, why do you enjoy hosting events?
I enjoy hosting events because I love interacting with people and finding out new perspectives and learning about different cultural characteristics and things. And I always try to make all of the events something that everybody takes part in. For example, on my TGIFs, we always have the standard, tell me a thorn, a rose, and a rosebud from your past, since we had last met. And that just means, tell us about something that was a challenge, because people like to talk about, with things they couldn't talk about to other people. And then I asked for the rose, what's something good that happened? And then a rosebud, what's something good that you're anticipating coming up in the future? And so it always gives us something to ask people when we get together again. Well, how did it go? Did you get over this or that? And I just love knowing that there are people that really know about, what bothers you or what's wonderful with you, and enjoy checking in on you, and I like checking in on people that I otherwise don't get to see. And I love listening to all the variety of accents. I have people from TGIF from Australia, from the UK, from Massachusetts, from California, from everywhere. So it's fun to just get perspectives from different places and traditions and ideas that different people have about different things that are going on. And we have fun too. It's like Kim has been to some of my TGIFs where we'll all wear funny hats, or we'll have something to show and tell, or things like that, just to have fun. And it's fun to celebrate everybody. So that's what I enjoy about hosting, because I get to bring people together and in a way that they feel like they can share the good and the bad and the ugly and the beautiful and everything. So Kim, what do you enjoy about hosting?
Well, just great segue, because it's so similar to what Sherry just said. Oh my goodness, the connections you make. That's just such a gift. And I moved to California from Texas just 10 years ago. So I didn't know a lot of people here. And when I found out about Stitch, it was like, what an opportunity to get out and meet people my age or close, and be able to do things together and talk about things that, that interest us, that we've been through, just that age similarity just helps when you're with people. And I love that part. And when I started the hiking group, one of the things I like to mention is that it isn't just the connections I get to make, but the connections I'm helping facilitate around me. One of the men that's in my hiking group and one of the ladies have been in a relationship now for almost a year. And it's because they met in my hiking group. So it feels good to know that you're helping facilitate other people's lives too. Another thing I really enjoy about hosting is I get to think of something that I want to do. And let's face it, when you want to do it, it's more fun for you and it's exciting. And you can find people that just want to be able to be a part of that too. We have the art museum in San Francisco they're hosting this artist. His name's Kehinde Wiley. He's the one that painted Obama's portrait. And it's different than all the others. There's like leaves and flowers behind him, but he has his series, Silence, something about silence. I don't remember the exact name, but he's going to be at the art museum in the Golden Gate Park. And now and it's not for another month, but I have 4 people signed up to go already, which yay, because I don't like to do things alone. I like to be around people. So that's another really great gift that you get from hosting events. it makes you feel like you're helping others. It makes you, it really helps my self-esteem and confidence to be able to do this for others. So there's just a lot of things that I personally feel like I get out of it, and just makes it so enjoyable hosting it for me and for others. So Wendy, why do you enjoy hosting events?
Well, I really enjoy trying new events, and if it's something that I'm really interested in, like last night, I hosted an event on Chat GPT and AI. So that was fun. I try new approaches as I learn and I grow as an event host. I care about providing a safe space and interesting topics. For me, hosting events on Zoom is like having a dinner party without having to cook or clean. I really used to love to host dinner parties. Years ago, when my husband was around, and this is easier. So you when you host an event, you tend to everybody who comes in to make sure that they have what they need and are happy and cared for and have a positive experience. And I think that's pretty nice. I'm so grateful and feel blessed to be part of this. And I'm having a great time and I'm very grateful. So we'll go on to the third question. So Nancy, I will ask you, please relate a special time in one of your events that helped someone.
Well, I think my events help everyone. I have a wait list every week and people writing me asking if they can come in. It's a very light atmosphere. And after working all week or going to serious Stitch meetings, people enjoy a good laugh. So I forgot to mention that I have a group called Laughter is Healing. And I have a lot of people joining that, telling jokes, telling stories. One person posted an event on my group. So the event is growing. So Sylvia, please relate a special activity or time that your event has helped someone.
Since my event is a remote one, of course, we don't get to interact directly, but about a year ago, we had a member who was a relatively new member from Tennessee who began playing Quicks with us. And he was kind of bemoaning the fact that he couldn't find any other Stitch members right in his area. And he was thinking about traveling 100 miles to another city to go meet with someone who was in Stitch there. And we encouraged him to wait a little bit. He had a physical condition that made it difficult for him to travel. And he thought, after talking with everyone in the Quicks game, that maybe it would be a good idea to just hang back and wait a little bit. So he continued playing Stitch with us and didn't actually make that trip, but he kept looking for other in-person activities that he could be a part of. How about you, Gordon? Have you had an experience where during one of your groups that it seemed to actually help someone?
I actually think I actually think it did, not in a I'm not sure if if it would be like a significant way, but I do know that, like, for a lot of people who attended the writer support group, there were some who kind of felt empowered to write, even if it was just getting things down on paper because they didn't know where to start. I'm blanking on her name, but I know there's one woman who writes nonfiction, and she writes about the space program. And she's part of there's actually like I think a space travel group as part of Stitch where she contributes there. So I think it helps to have even just that place where it's like, I know I know I want to do something, I'm not sure what to do. And I think just having a resource for people to just kind of chat about, whether it's talking about writing or playing canasta or having like playing quick kicks or whatever, just being together, I think is helpful. I mean, it's not much of an answer, but that's my answer and I'm sticking to it. Um, so Sherry, has there been any special time that one of your events has like helped someone or had an impact on someone?
Actually, I have trouble picking just one. I've had several experiences during well, I'm going to relay at least two of them. During one of them, for example, we were having our TGIF, and one of the people on the call, her house was broken into, and so we were kind of like witnesses for her, what happened to her. And so then we made sure to check up on her, and I think that helped her quite a bit afterwards to calm down, with and be able to feel like people would know she wasn't home alone. She had us there to help out too. Another example would be in the games that Mike and I host or co-host. There have been some people that just needed to have somebody to talk to, and we let there be banter and things as we play. That as the games are lighthearted enough that it allows people to kind of let that out. And in the TGIF, obviously that helps people. And actually, one of the times that I reached out to help someone is how I met Mike. He had signed up for my TGIF, one of the public ones, and then he didn't make it. He's a retired art teacher. And so then this was before I knew anything other than that he was a retired teacher. And so I messaged him, sorry that you didn't make it. And then he messaged back that he had trouble with Zoom. And I said, well, if you'd like to set up a practice Zoom so that you can get the hang of it, I'd be happy to help. And that was just like a pure help. We had no plans of relationships, either of us. But we hit it off, and the rest, as they say, is history. We've been a couple now for almost 2 years, and that was because I reached out to help him with learning how to use Zoom. So you never know what kind of things might happen when you reach out to people. So Kim, do you have any special times where your events have helped someone?
That's a hard act to follow, Sherry. Well, I mentioned before that the hiking group, just having these experiences for people helps connections. And I've seen it where it's helped others have relationships like Sherry and Mike. I don't know that I so much have facilitated that, but certainly have made it possible for them to get together. Things that I had a little more input over is one of our hiking friends became ill, and just being able to be that person to talk to, that shoulder for her. That is, I'm a therapist in my real life. I know this is real life too, but you know what I mean. My career as a therapist for kids, and just being able to help people is part of what really makes me feel good about myself. And so that was just such a rewarding experience. And we're good friends to this day, her and I. So just being there for people, I think, is very helpful. And we want to get down to a way I did help more so than what maybe a lot of people would do is we always go out to dinner after we hike. And one of our hikers didn't have money on her, just forgot her wallet or whatever it was. And I did not want her to not be able to, be and have fun with the rest of us and be part of the group. So I paid for her dinner. And it's a risk when you do that. You don't know if you're going to get paid back. And first, we live in the Bay Area where nothing is cheap. And so it was 30, maybe $30, but she paid me back. So it's just, you get out there, you build this community, and people, when they trust each other, they enjoy being around that person. So I don't know that I've done a lot to help others other than just offer opportunities and do things like that. So anyway, that's my answer, Gordon, and I'm sticking with it. All right, so now we're on to Wendy. Please relate a special time in one of your events that helped someone.
Well, I really love it when I host two games that I've adapted to Zoom, Canasta and Mahjong, and I love it when nobody's ever played before. And I'm able to have them playing with understanding in the first game. And I've had new people win in the first game. So that's really fun. I actually have created slide presentations to show exactly what it takes, like for on a Mahjong line, what exactly it takes to get that line. So I'll assign them a line so they're really playing. And so that's fun. I just really believe strongly that all event hosts are providing value and helping in a variety of, with a variety of choices, events, and topics. So there's something that interests everybody. And I just think that it's a wonderful thing to be part of. I also enjoy welcoming new members and helping anybody set up for something that they want to do. So we'll go on to the fourth question. And Nancy, so happy to have you here. Nancy is a real comedian. I really enjoy her events. So she had everybody laughing the whole time. So in her pajama party event. So Nancy, how has hosting events changed you?
I feel more confident and more connected with people. They're starting to rate me and give me phone numbers to call them. And I look forward to it every week. And I notice in different events, people bring it up. And like I said, I have a wait list, and that surprises me. So, Sylvia, how has hosting changed you?
I don't think it's really changed me a lot, Nancy, but one thing I have noticed is I'm a bit more organized. And I've had to do that to be able to host events. I tend to be kind of a scattered person, and so this has helped a lot. Actually being on time, that's another thing I struggle with. So trying to be timely with my events. I do feel more connected. I live by myself, like many of us do. Even though I have my daughters here in town with me, I have shared my phone number and exchanged phone numbers with a couple of other people around the country where if I don't show up to host my events, I have a sneaking hunch I might get a phone call saying, hey, have you fallen asleep? Or are you okay? So, that connection really means a lot to me. So I think that's a change that's come down for me. How about you, Gordon? Has hosting changed you?
It has. It's made me a lot more outgoing and a lot more engaging. I mean, I tend to be very my day job is that I am a consultant and writer. So a lot of times I'm in front of a screen or thinking about something or planning. So a lot of times I'm very I'm very internalized. And I'd also been my mom's caregiver for a while until she passed away early last year. So a lot of I would often feel isolated, and Stitch gave me the ability to just be able to connect with people in a very non-structured way. I mean, I whenever I run groups, I never have an agenda. I just kind of play it by ear because that way it gave me the freedom to kind of go, okay, well, I can see where the conversation's going. And most of the time, people are just wonderful about participating. So, but I think it allowed me to kind of come out of my shell quite a bit without necessarily feeling like I was performing. It was just, hey, I'm just part of a crowd. I can be part of the crowd. Um, so Sherry, how has hosting events changed you?
Well, I'm not sure that I would say that it has changed me, because as a teacher, I'm used to having to be up in front and kind of guiding things and making sure everybody takes part and things, which are key things in especially in virtual events. But I think it has reminded me about the importance of keeping in touch with people and allowing people to want to keep a regular schedule with things like that, to feel guilty, so to speak, if they miss it, because they're letting other people down in a sense to themselves, because they feel like they're a part of something and they would be missed. Because that's one of the things that I think is important, is to let people know that they are missed if they aren't at events. And it's also changed me in getting me back into doing some of the face-to-face events. Like in Texas, we have a group that we call Whining and Dining, but it's WHI whining as well. The H is in parentheses because we usually have wine with it too. But we get together for potlucks and things. And the first one I created for us to make tamales together, so that, because they wanted to learn how to make tamales. And so it's just, the one of the things that I've learned, so to speak, I guess you could say it's changed, is to look out for what other people, what can you offer other people, and to not feel like you don't have anything to offer. That is, that you have value to contribute to others, and that to me is important. And again, goes back to keeping in touch with people, so that an absence is noted. Okay, Kim, what about you?
Oh, I have to just follow what Nancy said. I just feel so much more confident, feeling like I don't need a lot of attention or anything like that, but to be able to do this and get people excited about going together every weekend. I know part of it's what you're doing, but part of it also is because they enjoy being around you. So to me, that has really helped build confidence and self-esteem. But one thing kind of unique with me is because I work with little kids, I also have this inner child in myself that still loves to just have fun and laugh. And they can easily see it when we're together. And just being able to be comfortable being myself has really, again, helped boost that confidence. And knowing that other people enjoy that, it just really makes you feel good about who you are. I think it helps me live a happier, healthier lifestyle, because not only am I enjoying who I am now much more than I ever have, but I get to be out in nature, and I get to be by the ocean, the redwood trees. There's critters that crawl around and birds, and it's just such a healthy environment. So all the way around, it's just helped in so many ways, mind, body. I don't know about soul, but I feel good where I'm at. I feel good with the people I'm around. So just, again, can't give enough thanks to Stitch for having this ability to do this. So anyway, Wendy, how has hosting events changed you?
Well, I really appreciate this opportunity to host events. I have just loved it, and I cherish what I do. It means a lot to me. I've learned so much about the tools inside Zoom with their free webinars. I've learned so much from other Stitch hosts in preventing problems and learning to anticipate things that could come up and find ways to prevent it. And the technical side is not always hasn't always been a strong point, and I'm really happy that I'm learning how to do that much better. I always used to call for my husband to take care of things. And now I have to learn, right? But it's growing up, and I just really love learning from other Stitch hosts. I love presenting. I love to see everybody shine and encourage people and provide a safe place and provide value. So that's what really is important. So Nancy, happy to have you here. Happy to have all of you here. I'm so impressed with all of the event hosts here that have they're a part of this panel. Nancy, what tips and recommendations do you have for those who want to host events?
Well, I'm fairly new with this, and I rely on my friend who lives in Fresno, California, and I always call her before I have an event. And my biggest recommendation is I learned, like this Friday, I had 17 people, and one person dropped out because she felt she didn't have the chance to share. So what I'm gonna do is cut the number down, and if there's a wait list, so be it. Another interesting challenge is when people get going on a topic and trying to move on. And I try to do it in a humorous way, but even as a teacher, it's different with working with adults. So my advice is limit the number in your group so everybody has a chance to share. And if there's a wait list, oh well. And the other thing is I would recommend learning techniques on how to redirect conversations so everybody has a chance to share. So, Sylvia, my friend, what tips and recommendations do you have for those who want to host events?
I think the biggest thing I'd say is you can always get help from your Stitch companions. When I was learning to set up my events, Wendy was one of the two people who did a lot of in-person coaching online with me to help me know how to actually do the things that you need to do to get set up. And that just made a world of difference because I don't retain stuff like that very easily. So it was very challenging. Just know that the other people who are hosts are more than happy to help coach you along. So keeping that in mind is important. How about you, Gordon? What tips and recommendations would you give to people who want to host events?
I think in terms of tips and recommendations, I think the first is if you're concerned about, if you want to host an event but are concerned about like, oh, will anyone come because it's kind of obscure, go ahead and plan it because you will find the people who will get there. You know, I kind of have the opposite problem that Nancy did in that my groups start small and build audience versus start big and we have to worry. And I think because I've done these smaller, because I tend to think smaller rather than bigger. I think the other thing too, and I had to learn this in the past few months, is it's okay to take a little time away if you've been running them a while, just to recharge and go to other Stitch events because That way you can go, oh, okay, well, I like what this person did and I like what this person did. What can I do to bring it into, how can I do that and bring it into the event that I'm running? And so Sherry, what tips do you have?
Well, my first tip, the biggest one, is make sure that whatever you're planning, that you enjoy it. Don't plan something for somebody else, plan it for you, because you know, if you are enjoying it, everybody else will share the joy that you have with it. And I think that's really important, that you enjoy the event yourself, whether it's a face to face or whether it's a virtual event. Have it be about something that you want to talk about or want to do. And then make sure that you include everyone. There will be some that just kind of want to hold back and not talk, but you know, once you get them going, sometimes they're hard to cut off, in fact. But make sure that everyone takes part. And sometimes that means you have to redirect, or you have to remind them, okay, let's move on, maybe we can continue that later at the end. But we have so many people that we want to have share their perspectives or their ideas. And you know, don't be afraid to have some questions to ask, both for redirection and for stimulating conversation if things tend to lull a little bit. And I think it's also important to follow up. If there's somebody that had a really interesting point, make sure afterwards that you send them a direct message and tell them, "Hey, I really appreciate it." Or on the activity itself, you know, put a, "Hey, I'm glad everybody came. Hope to see you again next time," and things, because people sometimes feel like they weren't noticed or something. And if you reach out and let them know that their attention and their presence was appreciated, then they'll come back and be a valuable part of your activities. So I think that's important. And basically, don't be afraid to talk to somebody about, "Hey, watch out for so and so." You know, don't be careful what you say, because I think you hurt their feelings or something like that. That is, don't be afraid as a host to let people know if they got a little bit out of line or whatever, because if you want to have your activity keep moving, you don't want to have, you know, anybody that attends feel badly, unless they're the one that's causing a lot of scandal. I've had some difficult participants sometimes, and you know, and you have to let them know, "Hey, you know, you got a little bit out of line there. I appreciate your coming, but." And so that's one. Those are my recommendations. What about you, Kim? Do you have any tips or recommendations for hosts?
Well, I'm just going to take what you said and add to it a little bit, because you will run into just so many different personality styles. And some of them are a little more aggressive and some are very passive. And you have introverts out there. So when you're hosting, and of course the extroverts, which probably we all can relate to. But when you're hosting an event, whether it's online or in person, honestly, the online ones require at times just some special communication skills, because you do have to be able to be a mediator at the same time as you're facilitating, because you want to make sure each person feels heard. I heard probably everybody say that already. You want them all to feel included. You want them to feel good about what's going on. And in doing that, they have to be heard. Some people feel comfortable with that. Some people don't. And so it really takes some, sorry, my cat. Anyway, some special, this is what I want, and everybody else should get this opportunity to speak, and watch and see who's not, and watch and see who's taking over speaking. All of that has to be reined in and just really equaled out so that everybody feels heard. I'll call on people that haven't spoken yet, and I'll tell them, just the way you ask, is there anything you wanted to add? And they can say yes or no that way. They don't feel put on the spot, because some people don't like to speak. They just like to internalize what's being said. But other people, we know there's a lot of them out there that like to speak and speak and speak. And you have to be able to pull them back too. That's the fine balance, I think, when you're on Zoom, because in person, you don't have to worry about that. People can be themselves and they tend to, listen to whoever's around them, or if they're feeling like they don't get to say anything, they'll move on to someone else. So in person's a lot easier that way. Let's see, some things that I jotted down is asking questions is huge. It's not easy when you start either avenue, whether you're going on Zoom or whether you're doing in person. There's a lot of fear that comes in. And so having that supportive person backing you up and encouraging you and saying, it's okay. Maybe nobody's going to show up, but you're going to feel good that you at least took the first step, and then try it again. And maybe 1 or 2 people, maybe 10 will show up. You just don't know. But unless you really keep trying, and organization is important, but the more you do it, the more you realize what you need to do. So it just takes practice, and no one's going to be perfect their first time. I think if they just understand, you just aren't going to be perfect your first time, and it's okay, because you got people around you that want to see you succeed, and we can be there to help encourage them on. And as we've all said here, each time you do it, you gain more and more confidence. One thing about groups, if they get too big, because I did one Zoom series called Social Equity. And who wants to limit that? Because we all at that time needed to learn a little bit more about what's going on out there, because it was during the George Floyd time. And that was really kind of intimidating for me, because I was learning along with everybody else. And I didn't want to limit it. So what I did was I incorporated the groups within Zoom, where they could group off and be in their own rooms. So they got to talk about certain things and bring some structure and questions in, because some people are going to talk and talk and talk no matter what. And you may just end up with a group of all introverts, and that it just doesn't get started unless they have some direction with some specific questions. So just, it's all those things that you need to think about, and really just help. People are out there. You got 6 of them right here that are willing to help you out and get started. But just knowing you can do it. You can do it. You're not going to be perfect first time. And if you are, give your secrets to us. But if you're not, we've all been there, and we just want to see you we want to see everybody feel successful with this. Anyway. Oh, and one thing I do allow is people to pass. You don't have to add if you don't feel comfortable. I guess that's as working in schools, we learn to do that. Anyway, Wendy, what tips and recommendations do you have for those who want to host events?
Well, for a new host, I think it's important to remember that don't put your own worries and feelings aside. Just don't think about yourself. Worry about creating a positive experience for those coming into the room, if it's a virtual event or if they're coming to an in-person event. It goes back to the similar situation of like hosting a dinner party. You concentrate on making sure, and etiquette actually too, making sure everybody is included, making sure everybody feels welcome, making sure that they have a positive experience. And you don't have to be perfect, but it's important to smile, and it's important to be welcoming. If you do forget about your own concerns and worries, I think that it really is good for everyone, because then you can concentrate on making sure it's a positive experience for everybody else. And then I think it'll work out great. You learn as you go. Nike says, just do it. Tony Robbins says, do it now. So don't wait until you think everything's going to be perfect. Just reach out, ask for help. And we've all been there for people, everybody in this room. And I think that it's a wonderful opportunity to learn and grow. So I think this is coming to the end, but I can't thank everybody enough who's agreed to participate today. You're awesome event hosts who provide great value to everybody here on Stitch, both in person and on Zoom, and I can't thank you enough. If you have some last minute thing you want to say, you're welcome to do so, but otherwise we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you for hosting
Thank
us,
you, Wendy.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much for
Yeah.
for being part of this. I really appreciate it. I think it helps to get different perspectives, and thank you so much for participating.
Thank you.
Pleasure.